And so, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a saviour, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shivering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. The date today is the 24th of April, 2009. It is 8 p.m. in the British Isles. It is 3 p.m. EST. It is other times in other places. And this is Blue Please. Welcome. Well, what a show we have for you coming up today. I love it when Blizzard releases content. Isn't it awesome? I get to talk about things that are new and exciting, and I might not be horribly pessimistic about. Although, I think there will be some pessimism coming up in this particular show. You know, we've had a week or so. Patch has settled in. We've got past the initial varnish and sparkle of Ulduar, and we can get down to dissecting it in gritty, gory detail. Although, in reality, I must say that I haven't found much, or actually anything, really to complain about so far in the instance, but I'm sure I can dig something up as we go through. Now, what have we got coming up in the show for you today? Algernon, or as I will be calling it for the rest of the show, Algalol. Algalol and his 1 hour spawn time. It's going to be awesome, because the tears, there is a river of them. And they're mostly coming, in fact, actually, no, they're all coming from the US forums, which makes it even more hilarious, because those guys are really overly emotional. Now, we've got the EU forums, we've got the US forums, yeah? The EU forums is full of bleeding hearts that can't spell, and the US forums is full of angry bleeding hearts that can't spell. So, as you can see, there's a very big distinction there between US and EU. Very big. Also, ongoing nerfs to Ulduar. Ulduar's been nerfed several times. However, the hard modes have been buffed. Is this an acceptable situation? We'll look into that a little bit later in the show. Also, the Vault of Archivon. People wanted as separate instances. I give them some advice. Specifically, stop pugging it, noobs. And perhaps, if you're really having issues with it, you should start using the Peggle loot system. I'll be coming a little bit later on in the show. Also, we'll be announcing the winners of our contest to win a copy of Arthas, Rise of the Lich King, which is, I assume, about Arthas and his Lich King Rising. It's not really the same as, say, bread making for the Baker class, whose petition you should have signed by now, and if you have not, you can go to petitiononline.com/baker123/petition.html. Screw Rise of the Lich King, try Rise of the Panini. Go and get it. We've got 558 people that support the Baker as the new hero class. Join the army of the bread. Go sign up. It's mostly to prove a point. I'm not entirely sure what that point is. I just like wasting people's time. Speaking of wasting people's time, just get all of this stuff out of the way. If you want to email me today, particularly for the illusion of choice. Yes, that's the time of the show where you get to pick the last 15 minutes of topic, assuming you submit something that's half decent. If you don't, well, I just tend to ignore you. If it's really bad, I mock you. Like the guy's just like, Blizzard should support my country and let me do this and this and this. Like, yeah, because Blizzard really hates your money. They don't want your money. They don't like your evil, dirty European... Wait, hang on, that's all the same currency mostly, isn't it? Oh, never mind. Yeah, they hate that kind of money. They just want to spite you. Not your country, specifically you. They're out to get you. Nobody else, just you. Seriously, I'm not kidding. Yes, people email that in all the time, and it really gets on my nerves, because, like, why on earth would you email in a topic that you see me, like, every day flaming on the European forums? And indeed, is actually part of my How to Win Threads and Influence People thread, which I must say also got linked on the front page of wow-europe.com. This is the funniest thing. Blizzard linked my thread, and my thread was basically 5,000 words endorsing trolling. But it was written in such a way that it was not immediately obvious, and it got posted on the front page of WowEurope.com. So, thanks, Blizz. You've endorsed my post, which endorses trolling. Awesome. I can now go troll with impunity, because you've basically said that everything I said in that thread was okay. So okay, in fact, that it got to the front page. Awesome. If you want to keep up with my silly musings, you can do so on blueplease.blogspot.com. Various articles there, and twitter.com/TotalBiscuit. Now, I think we've had quite enough of me plugging me, so let's plug something else in the form of this.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, folks, it's mail time, and I've got a great mail because this one consists of crying, and crying is always funny. Not entirely surprisingly, it was posted on the US forums, as most crying tends to be. So let's have a look at this. Tristan Johnson made me aware of this particular email, and it goes something along the lines of this. You knew this was coming. Here's a forum complaint that Ulduar is too hard. And last week I read out a complaint thread. I did it in a whiny accent. I have no intention of doing that this time because I think I killed several of my listeners in the process. Probably not a great idea. I do like having listeners, and as pseudo-funny as that is, well, no. The funniest thing about this entire thing is that this thread is 25 pages long. You know, the Americans do everything bigger. They really do. Including their whining threads. There are more tiers. And the thread goes something like this. Blizzard, I think you are simply an amazing company that produces incredible games. Oh, great, that's a great way to start. Lick a few feet. Kiss a bit of ass there. To get your point across more effectively. That'll work. This is not a QQ thread at all. Yes, it really is. But rather some feedback I wanted to share on the latest raid instance that was recently implemented in the game. Ulduar. Yes, Ulduar. With 2 A's. For the second week in a row, my raid team and I have entered this instance and had enormous difficulty managing to get the first few bosses even to halfway health. Flame Leviathan excluded, he has been an easy and fun kill. Yeah, Flame Leviathan with no towers up is mind-blowingly easy. Like, I can't see how you could possibly fail. Anyway, he goes on. Last night, for example, the trash surrounding XT practically hindered any chance we had of defeating him. Oh, my God. And raise the scale, we were looking to get 1 or 2 turrets attached to him. Right, this, I don't get this. How is it possible for someone to get 25 people together and not get 1 or 2 harpoons fired? You know how long that takes? Like a minute. Yeah? It takes about a minute to get 1 or 2 harpoons loaded. Yeah? Maybe a minute and a half. Are you telling me, seriously, that you cannot tank the mobs for a minute and a half without dying? In a 25-man. And I assume this is I assume this guy's doing 25-mans. I don't know, I haven't had a look at his terrible guild. I will load it up, and the armory will probably be loaded sometime before the end of the show. Anyway, I remember Nax having its share of difficulty in the beginning. But no, you don't. It never had. I knew the dungeon was playable after we got the boss strats down. I don't think I can say the same for Ulduar. So far, I'm wasting hard-earned gold on daily repairs. Hard. It's so hard to get gold these days, isn't it? Doing daily quests for tons of money. I'll tell you when it was hard to get gold. Try vanilla. Yeah? Try this. You want hard Nax? Try a Nax where you had to buy like 3 shadow protection potions, greater shadow protection potions no less, per attempt for lower Theb. Per person, per attempt. Now you tell me now that getting money for Nax and raiding in Wrath is difficult. There were no daily quests back then. Absolutely not. You couldn't have Death Knights farm all your freaking herbs for you. God. Now, that was difficult. You didn't even get the money bonus for being level 60 and completing quests then. It was horrendous. You had to basically grind in Tia's hand for like 3 hours. I'm not angry or upset. I know you guys implement everything for a reason, but I felt like I should give my honest opinion, because after speaking to a few people, I'm pretty sure I'm not alone with this viewpoint. Blizzard fan for life. BFF? Guys, BFF? I mean, where to begin with this? Okay, I can understand people getting hindered, at least in the first few attempts, on the trash before XT on 25-man. Because the trash before XT on 25-man is a shock to the system. You want to know why it's a shock to the system? Because that's how proper trash feels. Cthulhu trash. Some of the Blackwing Lair packs. Some of the old stuff in Nax. That's how real trash feels. Trash in Mount Hyjal. Trash in Sunwell. That's how real trash feels. Trash is supposed to be a challenge as opposed to just being a minor time roadblock. A minor time roadblock is boring. You don't have to focus. You just face roll it. How is that fun in any respect? I mean, trash is never really all that enjoyable. That's the thing about trash. It is designed to artificially lengthen the instance, but it does exist for a reason. Which is, of course, to artificially lengthen the instance. And it's better if it's challenging, because then you at least have to be awake, and some trash is kind of fun. AoEing everything down isn't fun. You can't do that. You cannot face roll over that trash anymore. You can't do it with Ignis either. Ignis trash is actually challenging. But I'm sorry, if you can't get 1 or 2 harpoons attached to Razor Scale, you're freaking terrible. I mean, you are an absolutely awful player. I can't think of any better explanation. It's just tanking mobs. How hard is that? Ugh. It's pretty pathetic if you ask me. I cannot fathom why this would be an issue. Now, yeah, Ulduar is harder than Nax. You know, this is one of the problems I had with introducing people to raiding via Nax, because they get this mistaken belief that everything's supposed to be really easy. It's not. It was never supposed to be really easy. This is the introduction to raiding? Yeah, well, here's the real raiding. It's not as hard as some of the stuff that's come before, but it's pretty challenging and it scales well. Now, why exactly are you complaining about that? I mean, what really gets me is, like, I remember Nax having a share of difficulty in the beginning, but deep down I knew the dungeon was playable after we got the boss strats down. That's every raid dungeon! Every dungeon is playable after you get the boss strats down. That's the entire point. You're supposed to learn the boss strategies. You're supposed to get your execution right. Otherwise, how the hell are you supposed to kill anything? I understand that strategies weren't needed in Nax. All you needed to do was bang on the DPS button. AoE the trash all the freaking time. Because there was nothing else to do. That's all it involved. Now, you'd have thought that maybe people would have learned a few lessons from Malagos and Sarth plus Drakes, but the things I don't think these people have done either. I can't prove it, because my armory won't load to see whether or not he's got the bloody achievement, but I would put money on this guy not having actually killed any of these. Funnily enough, according to the armory, he's not even in this guild, which is relatively amusing, I must say. But I will check one of their level 80s. There's a level 80 Paladin, so level 80 Druid here, rank 8. He must be on their raids. Let's see what he's done. He's got tons of achievement points. Let's see if they've killed anything. Now, the name of this guild is Raiders of Dalost Taint, which is a terrible guild name. Let's face it, it's freaking awful. Let's see what he's done. Let's go check it out on the army. Let's spy on people and invade their WoW privacy. Well, the amusing thing is, this guy's got Champion of the Frozen Wastes, Northrend Dungeon Master, and Northrend Dungeon Hero. Has he got anything to do with raiding? Well, let's find out. Lich King Heroic Raids. Fall of Naxxramas, yes. Killed Sapphiron with 1 Drake. And he hasn't killed Malagos. Oh my god. Yes! I'm sorry, but your guild sucks. You've killed Sartharion with no Drakes. Oh, that's really difficult. You've got like half the achievements for Nax. Not that that really matters anyway. You haven't killed Malagos, and you expect it to go into Ultimate. You haven't finished the current content. Why do you think it's hard? Because your guild's too terrible to finish the content. I'm not even talking about optional fights here like Sartharian +3. I'm talking about Malagos, which is like a normal boss, and you haven't killed that. You're wondering, why are you going into Ulduar? Please explain this to me. Why on earth would you do such a thing? I understand that it's shiny and new, but you're too terrible to beat Malagos. Why do you think you're going to be good enough to kill anything harder? It's just common sense, more than anything. Yeah, go kill the Flame Leviathan for some free epics. That's what a lot of stuff used to be like. You could, roll yourself into Mount Hyjal and kill Rage Winterlol, who was full of loot. Or you could go kill, say, Anubrakan and Instructor Vesuvius, which were easy bosses in Old Nax, yeah? And Guilds Still Wiping and Blackwing Lair went and did that, because it was an easy source of epics. Yeah, go to Flame Leviathan, but why are you trying something harder when you haven't beaten the stuff before it? I can't figure that out. Why would you do such a thing? So yeah, seriously. The problem here does not lie with the instance. The problem lies with the people trying to do it. Because they shouldn't be. They think they have this entitlement to go into these instances and just roll over them. No, you don't. If you want to go in, that's fine. You have the right to do so. Removing attunements... I wish they'd remove achievements. Removing achievements actually allowed you to go into these things, yeah? And that's fine. You can go in, but don't expect to be handed your epics on a silver platter anymore. That is over and done with. And it better well stay that way. Because I just had 5 months of total fail, and people are geared out in the best epics for doing nothing other than rolling their face across the keyboard, which I would like to simulate if I knew it wouldn't Alt F4 my sound broadcast program. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. I'll be right back after this to talk about Algalol and the River of Tears. This band goes by the name of Torture. It's my good friend Nick Hugert from Swag Show and Gaming Nights podcast. It's his thrash band. Go check him out on myspace.com/tortureband. This is Ignominious Slaughter. Ignominious Slaughter? I don't know. It's great. Enjoy.